Hello, welcome to Lawrence County History Corner. This week we are doing part 2 of the 1914 Massie murder mystery. It's not really a mystery. We do know what happened, we know who did it, and in fact the person responsible was in fact executed. For those of you who have not seen, there was a prior video that was posted. It's on our Facebook page, our YouTube page, about the murders. Robert, Nancy, and Mary Massie were murdered in their home by a farmhand by the name of Harley Beard. According to the rumors at the time, Harley and Robert got into an argument outside the summer home, which is supposedly where Harley and Robert lived, and he struck Robert multiple times and ended up killing him. Once he killed Robert, then he entered the household and struck both Nancy and Mary in their head, on the head. Not sure or not believing that they had passed, he got a straight edge razor, came back downstairs and slit both their throats before escaping. That is a short synopsis of what happened. There was a lot of rumors at the time of what might have brought about the murder and why he committed the crime itself. One of the main topics, or two of the suggestions, the first one was that, according to Harley, Robert treated him roughly. No. There was over 100 witnesses who came forward who said just opposite, that the Massies had treated Harley as if he was one of their own. He was, at the time, only 18, so he would have very much been the age to be a child of either Robert or Mary. Both were single and had never married, had no children. Nancy, of course, her mother was older, so maybe she saw him as a grandchild and not just a farmhand. Robert was known to be very generous and had rumored to have a lot of cash. One article even called him the wealthiest farmer in Lawrence County. I haven't found any proof of that, although they did say he did regularly loan money to family and friends, and that he was also rumored to have had cash kept at the home. So that was one of the other suggested reasons for the crime. When it comes to Harley Beard, there's some information about him. There's a lot of rumors and really a sad story to begin with. Harley himself was born not in Lawrence County, but he was born in Ohio. He was born in Warren, Ohio, Warren County, on the 2nd of July, 1896, in a place called Franklin. He was the son of Arthur and Elizabeth Truss Beard. He was one of 9 children born to the family, and he was third. There was 2 children younger than he, both sons. What we do know, the first time he appears in official records besides his birth record was in the 1900 census. He was 3 years old. Arthur at the time, who was working as a farmer, but he worked on a rented farm, meaning he did not own the property that his family worked, so he's more like a tenant farmer, and he supported his 9 children. His wife was Elizabeth, again, Truss. Arthur and Elizabeth had been married on the 20th of September 1885 in Warren County, Ohio. What was interesting was Harley's oldest brother that was listed in the census in 1900 was Frank A. His birth date was June 1882, which would predate his parents' marriage by 3 years. But by all appearances on records I could find, Frank did appear to be the child of both Arthur and Elizabeth. He just happened to have been born out of wedlock, which would have brought about a lot of comments, to say the least, of the time period. Arthur was the son of Charles Beard and Martha Haynes Beard, and he, like I said, he spent most of his life as a farmer. Tragedy would strike very early for young Harley. Sometime between the 1900 census and 1906, his mother, Elizabeth, died. Now, I could not find a death record for her, or even obituary, or a location of her grave. But I do know in 1906, Arthur remarried to a woman named Missouri Annie Brandon. Now, around that time, Harley was sent off into the world on his own. They said he was orphaned at the age of 12, which had been around 1908. But in fact, his father would live until 1910. According to the 1910 census, Arthur was still living in the household. He was living with his new wife, Missouri, and only one child, Ellsworth, which would have been the second to the youngest. Ellsworth had been born in February 1898, so he was 2 years younger than Harley. Harley, however, at the age of 12, was listed as an orphan and placed in an orphan asylum in Warren County, Ohio. What I found interesting is in the 1910 census, only the one child was still at home, although there was a lot of children that would still have been minors. So I'm going to assume what I know about history and about the time period. It's a very, very possibility that there was a lot of financial problems, and Arthur, for good or bad, had to send his children out at a young age to work for other farmers and other locations to be able to support what few that he was able to keep at home. Now, I am going to end today's section right now. Don't worry, there's more to come. This is part 2 of the 1914 Massie murder, and we are focusing on the murderer himself, Harley Beard. I hope you enjoyed this part. I assure you there's going to be a little bit more information and a little bit more excitement on the next episode. That'll be episode 3. I thank you for tuning in, and have a nice week.